We're just waiting on one more board member here. There we go. All right, Rob, do you want me to start off, or do you want to discuss what our next steps here are, and then I can make some motions, we can have a discussion.
Yeah. So basically the decision before the board is to make a decision as to what the constitution of the screening committee and the the role of what the screening committee will do. And so that's kind of the decision point. And once the people are decided as to who's on that screening committee, I will reach out to them, and each of them will be required to sign a confidentiality agreement. And then once that agreement is signed, they'll also be required to attend a training session on how the screening process. There'll be a rubric that they'll evaluate each candidate with, and then they will individually rank and assess the candidates in the rubric areas, and then get together as a group and discuss the candidates and bring recommendations to the board. So, and from there, the board will decide who goes forward in the interview process. So I suspect it'll take about 4 to 5 hours of time for whoever's on this committee. But that's the process of the work entailed, with the goal of getting all of it done by the February 13th board meeting, when the board will go into executive session, review all of the data from the screening team, and then decide who to bring in for interviews.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Just so everyone, so go ahead, Emily.
I was just going to clarify. I think that our next board meeting is on the 12th, not the 13th.
Oh,
just
I have
that
to.
in everybody's mind.
Oh, is the 12th a Monday?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
We moved it last session. Yeah. Thank you.
I may have a conflict on that, but what is that, a 5:30 start time?
Yes.
Okay.
Let us know if there needs to be, I believe it is on Monday as well.
That's what I have too.
I don't need any help messing the dates up any more than I already do.
Yeah, sorry, and I didn't mean to get us off track. I just wanted to flag that because I'd heard the 13th a couple times.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I was looking at the calendar, so I'm glad to know it. Don't want to get my dates mixed up.
Okay, and then just we have, I think, 8 people who've volunteered to be on a part of the committee, which the makeup is from our community and from the school, whether they're teachers or have other roles in the school, which I think is awesome. Having a lot of people there is any discussion from the board on the community involvement there, the makeup of the committee. I know we discussed a bit in the exec session, but my personal feeling, and I think many of the board feel, that it's best that we have most or as many people as we can get on the committee from the community. Does anyone have anything you want to add to that? We will make room for 3 board members on there. So I'm prepared to make some motions, but I want to make sure there's no need for discussion prior to a motion being made. So any board members, if you have any questions or discussion items you want to add, please speak up now before I make a motion. Okay. Make a motion that we include all members of the community, all 8 members who've voiced their interest in being a part of the board, and I'll name them now. Juliana Foster, Robin Winwood, Mary Ellen Holmes, Jennifer Langley, Sarah Grace, Lisa Stevenson, Don King, Jill Maynard, and board members Emily Strands, Evelia, and Marie. And that gets us to 11 members of a committee. The motion is that those members will provide a recommendation to the board based on the information that Rob gives them. Can I get a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Please voice your opposition. Motion passes. Rob, do you need more in regards to any motions, or does that satisfy your needs there?
What I'll need is each person's name and email address. And I guess, Matt, you would send that to me?
Yeah, I can do that, Rob.
Okay. And then those people will get a communication from me on next steps, and then they can begin the screening process. So yeah, and I'll just make it clear in my communication to them. I know we discussed the process, but I'll put it in writing so that they all know what they're signing up for and what their role is.
Perfect.
And that is to provide a recommendation to the board on who to bring forward for interviews based on their assessment of the candidates.
And Rob will stress this as well, but we all just want to stress the need for confidentiality. Please don't reach out to me or anything with your thoughts on the members. I'd like to have an open mind when we reach those decision points. So, confidentiality is extremely important here. So please follow the guidance that Rob sets forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just a thank you to everybody who volunteered to be on the committee. It's going to be a good process.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to head off to my next thing here. So.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. That completes section 5 of our agenda for the night. That brings us to item number 6, which is CPA services proposal. We got Summer Sears here. And for the board members who didn't earlier have the proposal, I had sent it out earlier today or earlier this evening here. Summer, the floor is yours. And if you could, and Alyssa's here as well, just kind of give us a background on what the services that you're providing, the reason for the services, kind of where we are now, what our goals are, and Matt and Alyssa, you're welcome to chime in and help. I want to make sure everyone's aware of kind of what the process is, the fact that we have an audit every year. There's a certain level of accounting and various other things that need to be done, and that way we can, us and the community can be on the same page here.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Summer. Thank you for taking the time. So a few weeks ago, I got a call or email from Alyssa asking for some time to look at financials. My understanding is that she had gotten there and some things, some of the accounts had not been reconciled, and she was finding more and more things that hadn't been completed before she got there. So a couple of weeks ago, I drove up from Bend to Hood River and Mosier, stayed with a friend up there, which is nice. I have some history in Hood River and Mosier, so I love the gorge. I love the area. It feels like home to me. So I was glad to go up there. I sat with Alyssa for actually a couple hours as she talked me through some things that she's been seeing over the last couple months and some things that she's really concerned about. And I can talk through those things in more detail if that would be helpful. Probably do need to hear about some of that, right? Especially for those who haven't seen the proposal yet.
Certainly, yeah. I think that part of what we want to make sure everyone understands is kind of what Alyssa is, moved into this position she's taken, that there's a lot of background there, I believe, and you can lead more light into this, but that the documents that she inherited are not very organized. And so trying to find some information and trying to find various things we need to get done is very difficult for her and very difficult for anybody without, it's like there's quite a bit of forensic accounting going on. So just kind of give everybody an update on, what you found, what isn't done, what needs to be done, and kind of where we go from here.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing too. She's in a very tough position. What I've been seeing is actually what I've been hearing from Alyssa, from your prior auditor, somewhat from Matt in the struggles that he's seen Alyssa trying to tackle. So most of the information I have is from Alyssa and the former auditor. And it looks like we have a couple things going on. So my understanding is there was a situation, the executive director and the business officer, business manager left back in June. And at this point, we're uncertain what that fiscal year's financials look like. So I think our assumption is that business manager that was there was able to keep up on everything. That was the initial assumption. And that by the time she left, she would be current and things would be clean and reconciled. However, we found out from the auditor that he initially started to try to look at those balances, and he found some items of concern, and that's where he said, okay, time out, I can't really start this audit yet. And the one major thing was bank reconciliations. That's like your core double check, right? To make sure you understand how much cash you have available. Because you can check the bank balance anytime, but how much do you really have available to run the school? So those haven't been done since September of 22, is my understanding. So that definitely needs to be caught up. Your auditors are probably not even going to start the audit until that's done. And it kind of leaves me wondering, as it did the former auditor, his name is AJ. I don't know if you guys have met him or not, but I had a good conversation with him, and his question was kind of the same as mine is, okay, if the bank reconciliation's done, I wonder what else there might be there. And I can hope everything's clean, but I also want to be realistic. And so without getting in there, we're just kind of making some assumptions, and I had to make some assumptions building that proposal. So that's the prior fiscal year back to June 2023. So there would be catching up the bank reconciliations, reviewing everything else to make sure that all the activity has been entered, the accounts that need reconciled have been entered, that payroll has been reconciled, all those key functions absolutely have to be done. And with that comes preparing the school for the audit. So it sounds like you have auditors lined up and ready to go. We just need to get those records cleaned up, get the books clean so they can come in and do an audit, breeze through it, and we'll be back in compliance with the Department of Ed and Secretary of State's office. For the new year, any questions about that?
Yeah, I was just going to see if anybody had any questions. Can you speak for a second about account reconciliation and what that really involves?
The bank reconciliation or account reconciliations?
The bank reconciliation.
Yeah, sure. So it's just like, I was going to say balancing our checkbook. A lot of us don't actually balance our checkbook now. It's kind of old-fashioned kind of thing, but it's looking at and tying, reconciling your bank balance to what your accounting books say you have. Those numbers are usually different because of timing. So your bank may say you have $1 million in the bank, and your books may say you have 1.2 million. So what's the right answer? And it's understanding what is between there and defining it. And also very importantly, it's looking at those transactions for reasonableness to make sure you're not seeing anything that could be an indication of fraud or something else going sideways.
Is it possible, do you feel that some of those records were done but are somewhere that we can't find them? Or is it just that you found the ones in the past and seen the ones from the past, but just nothing from a date forward to go forward, like where they saved in a different file, or is it's just not there?
So my understanding from, again, the auditor is that we are assuming that because QuickBooks is your accounting system of record. And generally, bank reconciliations are done within that system. It has a function to help you do that. And that's what the school used through September of 2022. You plug in the statement balance basically and go through transactions and reconcile it to your books. So there is a chance that maybe she did some bank reconciliations outside of QuickBooks. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible.
Okay.
To answer your question, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. There's a lot we just don't know. And that kind of explains the huge range in my proposal.
Summer, and just to
Yeah.
get a little bit more background, and also please confirm or deny this. If that would be a possibility, there would be a lot of documentation available, or would be, I guess if you do reconcile, not using a system, but using more of a paper format, it would be very, very easily identified, because there would be, I mean, once you reconcile 3 to 4 checks after, pretty much you're not sealing, but you're properly making sure that your books are proper and have been looked at those several times. So there would be a pile of documentation ready to be inputted digitally.
Gotcha. So I can only speak in generalities because I haven't seen how the school has done it in the past. And I'll speak in generalities with clients that use QuickBooks or have used QuickBooks. In that situation, it's going to be much easier and faster and more efficient and less prone to human error if you use the system. And here's why. Part of that process is making sure that all the transactions are actually in your system. So yeah, that hopefully there's documentation for those months that we might be missing for the new year, right? We're hoping we can find all of that. We will enter that into QuickBooks, and then we'll be able to reconcile in the system. That's going to be the ideal. Trying to do it in Excel or on paper would be much more difficult in my mind. Alyssa, if you have any input in here at all, please just jump in. So any other questions about looking back to that prior fiscal year? Okay.
I have a question more towards.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, my question is just how were we able to do the audit of the prior year if the books weren't reconciled? Like, wasn't there an audit done of 2022?
Yes, there was. And all the records are there and the books are clean and tied out and everything's golden with the exception of one thing. So I would say yes, 22 is clean. There's one thing we need to clean up is my understanding, and there was a switch in accounting principle that the school started following. They went from a straight like cash basis to a modified cash basis because they wanted to see, I'm assuming, some extra items in their financial statements. Like they wanted to know what their capital asset balances are and see that in the statements. So that conversion was done in the actual report document, but I don't think the QuickBooks accounting system was updated to match that. So that's the only thing that's open for 22. And then we have reconciliations for July, August, and I think September of fiscal 23. And then that's it that we found so far. Does that answer your question? So we do have all the reconciliations for fiscal year 22, June 30.
Go ahead, Marie. You're muted.
Hi, Summer.
Hi.
Thanks for everything you've been doing. I just want to be sure I'm clear on what's going on. So from what I understand, the reconciliation has not been done from September 2022 until July 2023. Is that?
Till now.
Okay.
Because you can't really, I mean, you could, it'd be a little tricky, but you could start doing reconciliations. And Alyssa, correct me if maybe you've tried and been able to get some of the more current reconciliations done. It's generally, depending on how many transactions you have, kind of difficult to do.
Okay. Thank you.
They're great questions. I'm so glad you're asking questions. This is awesome. A lot of organizations don't. It means that you just shows me that you care and want to understand. I love it.
After we get, sorry, Marie, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just something, this is not my area of expertise at all. So thanks for bearing with me in my questions.
Problem.
So now I understand that there's a difference between reconciliations and records of transactions and whatnot. So there have been no reconciliations done from September 2022 until now.
Correct.
However, there is a paper trail or information to work with beginning in July. Is that?
Of 22 through June of 23.
Okay.
We believe so because the prior business manager was there.
Okay.
Starting in July through, I'm not sure how much Alyssa's been able to get in the system at this point, but July through possibly now, at least through November, I don't think much was done in your accounting system at all as far as entering transactions or reconciliations. My understanding is that the ESD was processing payroll and did the best they could with it. And I think they were paying vendors also, right? Is that correct? I believe so. And that's really all that was done. Again, is my understanding. I haven't really seen it. So the stuff that was done, I will also say the payroll piece. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here because I know ESD did everything they could, but there were a lot of mistakes, and I don't know if or to what extent you might be hearing from employees, but there have been, my understanding is, a lot of errors in those paychecks related to retirement and union dues and even the correct pay amount, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if payroll taxes were withheld correctly, but I do know that the school is way behind in paying those to the local government or to the IRS. That's generally done quarterly at the least. Some have to do it with every payroll, depending on how much it is. But that money was not sent to the IRS. So of all your regulatory agencies, this is another one that that you're getting, this one you'll be getting penalties and fines from. I think you already have.
So we have, a bit of work to get current. Once
Yeah.
we are current, will we have a system in place that Alyssa will be able to use that once it's caught up, will be ready to be used moving forward? That's
the goal. And a lot of this we'll be doing together, or I'll be showing her what I'm doing and kind of training her along the way. She seems very capable. I'm really impressed by what I've seen so far. And so I have no concerns about working with her or her taking the wheel once we get this caught up and cleaned up.
Okay.
I will say, urgent, and this is only somewhat related to this conversation and the proposal. One thing that I noticed when I was there in the business manager's office is I don't know if I can say nearly all, but your QuickBooks is a desktop QuickBooks, and it lives on that really old computer in that office. It is not on a network. Same with a lot of the audit files and other finance files. It sounds like those were saved on that local drive. If something happens to that computer, now we're talking a major issue. So please, highly, highly recommend that you have your IT folks look at that and try to get QuickBooks Online. I need to talk to Alyssa to see if that's a possibility at this point. I would definitely recommend moving to QuickBooks Online.
I'm not
sorry, Matt?
sure. Well, I was just going to say, I'm not sure if Alyssa's still on there, but I do recall before the snow event that I talked with a tech person, and he seemed very confident that all that information from the previous person should be on the server, not just on the computer.
Oh, that it is actually on the server?
That's what he said.
Oh, I sure hope so. I sure hope that's the case. I'm glad you're looking into it.
Yeah.
Yes. Other questions? So within the proposal, if I could point a couple things out, I'm not sure which version of the proposal you're looking at. There was an initial version and then a second version that had some additional information about my experience and background.
Would you like me to share my screen and pull it up?
No, that's okay. I think everyone has it in front of them, right? Thank you, though. I appreciate the offer. Let me get it up ahead of time because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. You guys are going to have time to ask questions and look at it and process. So for my experience, you can read through that. I do want to let you know, probably ease your minds a little bit, that I have done projects like this and successfully, and I really enjoy them. Of all the different kinds of projects I do, this is the kind of thing that I really enjoy. I enjoy solving the puzzles. I enjoy catching up. I enjoy seeing the relief on staff's shoulders, you know, the burden lifted. I just really enjoy everything about it. So that's part of the reason why I discounted my hourly rate pretty substantially. Is part of it, you guys are a small organization. I don't want to be overcharging. And I love the gorge. I want to do as much work as I can in the gorge, truly. And I love this kind of project. So there's that piece of it. I'm also hoping this proposal basically assumes that I'm doing most of the work with Alyssa's help. I have a couple subcontractors in my back pocket. One is really good at payroll, and she knows, I think, the legacy QuickBooks that you guys are using. So I'm hoping to reach out to her. She's going to be a lot less expensive, and I can supervise her work and make sure she's on track with what the school needs. But I'm hoping to do that as much as possible.
So, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on right now as far as the funding, the ESSER funding, the past grants, we have a DOJ grant for solar and all those kinds of things that I'm sure they'll come into place as this project's being brought forward and becoming current. We also have obviously current issues, current, you know, accounts payable, money coming in as far as grants, requirements for that grant for upfront money so we can get reimbursements for solar and various other things like that. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of all those projects coming in and, you know, or at least have some cursory knowledge of that so that as that stuff happens, it's not a surprise.
That's absolutely the assumption going into all of this, is that the day-to-day needs keep going. They have to keep going, and they have to start. I think Alyssa's already on it, to be honest. Like, deposits as they go to the bank, they need to be entered into the system. Invoices as they come in, there's a process to get them into the system and then pay them. There are other transactions, credit card divisions and classifications of expenses. And those, Alyssa, correct, if you're still on, correct me if I'm wrong, but 100% my understanding is that she would be staying on top of those things.
Yes.
Especially the grant work.
I would agree with that. I don't know if she's on, but.
Looks like she is, and she got off mute. Alyssa? Maybe we can't hear her.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Hi.
Hey, sorry, I'm using my cell phone, so we're out of internet again. Yeah, so the day-to-day stuff, I'm still working on the backlog, trying to get just entered from November to now, and then work backwards from there. But I also, on the bank recs, I am pretty sure that they are all sitting in unopened envelopes in the office from September of 2022. So I don't think they've even been looked at.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good. So we have some hard records that you can look at and use.
Yeah, and we have the electronic ones of those now. We were able to download them from the bank.
Great. And that's going to be one of our big tools, right? To make sure all the transactions have been entered into QuickBooks. Yeah.
I have a question. You had mentioned getting the network online, and I wonder, and please again, pardon my ignorance because I don't know anything about your line of
work. It's okay.
But if you were to be able to have an online system, would you be able to work remotely, and would that lessen your need to travel here? Or
yes,
would you
yes,
be
absolutely. And Alyssa and I can still try. You know, she can like run reports or download some information, and we can send it over a secure portal. I'm really careful about employee information doing that, but we can try to do that, and I can work from over here and then send stuff back for her to enter in. It's going to be really inefficient. So if we get QuickBooks Online, I don't know what that process looks like to convert over, how time intensive it might be. Alyssa might know. If we have that, then yes, we can both work in the system remotely. And if the audit files and other finance files are in a shared network, oftentimes with clients, I do work remotely, and I have my laptop here, and IT, my clients' IT departments decide what they feel is secure, and we usually go through some kind of VPN network, and I'm able to log into your system and just work from there. It becomes really efficient that way. Of course, then I don't get to go to the gorge.
Well,
Okay.
I don't want to keep you from coming to the gorge, but as you know, the funding of
Yes,
this
of course.
is limited, and I have to be, asking these questions.
Of course, yeah. I'm just teasing. Of course, if we can do it effectively remotely, we will as much as we can. Alyssa, do you have a feel for how difficult that conversion might be?
I don't have a feel. I did talk to a QuickBooks rep on December, and they also strongly recommend we move to online. They're going to phase out desktop at some point.
Yeah.
And he said it's just quicker. I think they are able to help with that process. I can reach out to them and see what that is.
Okay. I have a bookkeeper colleague also, if we decide to move forward with this. She actually lives in Wisconsin. She used to live in the Pine, and she moved to Wisconsin, but she is phenomenal with QuickBooks and has been through a couple of these conversions. So I can pick her brain also and see what her thoughts are, and she can give us some best practices.
Sorry, I'm gonna come in really quick. Based on my experience, if QuickBooks, we Pro and Elite versions, it's an integrated feature that QuickBooks will do for free. It is not always the smoothest if the accounts aren't reconciled, but it can happen. So just a little, it might be worth looking into the QuickBooks representative and just upgrading to be able to get all the features.
Okay.
As a cost effective, yeah, if you guys think reaching out and bringing more on board would be necessary, I can see that.
Yeah, QuickBooks is actually very difficult to work with when it comes to nonprofits and local governments. It's just not set up to work that way. The nonprofit, they do have a nonprofit version, and that gets closer in some ways and worse in other ways when it comes to local governments. And we've found ways over the years to, code transactions a certain way so that we can force QuickBooks to do what we need it to do. And that's how it's set up now. But just letting you know, it's not the ideal system, but it is more affordable. So I think that's where you guys are at right now.
As you move forward, will you identify, obviously we have, if we're in arrears of, payments to the IRS or other things like that, do you establish an order of operations where these are the things we need to tackle first, and you go on down the line so that we avoid continued interest charges or anything like that? Does it all have to start from ground zero and move forward?
No.
Or are there things that we can, and then,
we need to prioritize.
You brought up the employee, errors in employee pay.
That's where I'm most concerned.
How do we identify that who hasn't been paid appropriately and how, what's the process to move forward there?
I have ideas based on what I've done in the past that I would end up discussing with Alyssa. We come up with a game plan, and I don't know to the extent Matt wants to be part of that game planning. He'll definitely want to help set priorities, or we'll run them by him, make sure he agrees. But yeah, there will definitely need to be priorities. Getting your employees straight is very important. I don't know how the school is going to be able to send W-2s out. W-4s, I always mix those up, W-2s. We know they're not going to be right, so we could do amendments later, but that's the one I'm most concerned about.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how much you're hearing from your employees in all the organizations I've worked with. If you're starting to see errors in your paycheck, they lose trust in administration very quickly, and it really breaks relationships. So I would hope to clean that up.
Domestically, I have not heard a whole lot, and believe me, what you just said, I am familiar with. If there's something incorrect, potentially financially with employees, you hear about it. And we did have a few over the summer. And so I'm hoping we corrected many before the previous person left. That did happen.
It seems like the important thing at this point is to retain the services, create the prioritized list, and then and have that employee issue be right up on top, and just keep moving forward with this.
Yeah, and I would try to get the IRS caught up. You don't want them hanging out any longer than we need to. So let's get them taken care of. But then right now the school is out of compliance with the Secretary of State and the Department of Ed. And the Department of Ed is going to hold your state school funding until we get this audit done for fiscal 23. So like pedal to the metal, even if the auditors could get on board, it's going to take at least a couple months. They're going to be in tax season. It's going to start getting tough, but we can do it as fast as we can.
So can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Please do.
The Department of Ed, when I spoke to them, because it's a charter school, we are required to have the sponsor, and they would be within their rights to drop us as a sponsor if we are not in compliance, and they don't want to do that anymore. They said that was a big concern to be wary of.
Yeah.
Who said that was a concern?
The Department of Ed.
Oh,
when I
Department
called
of Ed.
them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So can we make a motion to bring Summer on so she can help us figure out what the plan of action is to address all these issues?
Emily, before that, Summer, just to get my understanding correct.
Yeah.
What you're saying with the W-2 forms, and what I'm hearing is that Q4 of 2022, all the reporting and the payments were done, because I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused. I thought that now that in June moving forward, that's when the quarterly reporting and payments are due, so it wouldn't really affect 2023's W-2s.
So you are correct, I believe. Alyssa's going to correct me. I'm not confident that those quarterly amounts have been reconciled and dealt with. I do know that Alyssa told me that she received a late notice and just paid it, I believe, knowing that we'd have to get that reconciled, but to get the IRS off our back. So I believe those payments are caught up to the best of the school's ability.
Q3.
Yes. But Alyssa, is that 2023 or is that?
Yes. 2023. So the taxes haven't been paid since June of 2023. So it would have been July all the way to December. And so we got a late notice about Q3. And so we paid that, but it has not been reconciled.
Got it. Okay.
And then as far as the W-2s go, those are supposed to be issued in January for the prior calendar year. So the first 6 months of that that were in the prior fiscal year. Your prior business manager was here. We're hoping that those are good to go. And it's that second half of the year that we are pretty sure has some issues that need to be cleaned up.
Okay,
So
so it
those
sounded
give you-
like we need, go ahead. We need
Oh.
to make a decision on your proposal and then let you get in there and see what we need to get done and what, where we are in good standing, where we need to improve and get ourselves current, get everything reconciled, and then, get into the current fiscal year. So I just want to bring the board members back in to have, if they have any more questions about your proposal, and then I think it's just in the interest of time, making a motion on that so that we can move forward. Is that okay? I don't want to cut you off either.
Me?
But I want to also, I want to make sure I
Yeah.
wasn't cutting you off.
Nope, your show, that's
Um,
great.
But I want to just if there's any other questions from board members, otherwise I'm prepared to make a motion, because I feel like, yes, the range of cost could be high on this, but the opportunity cost or the loss cost and just not doing anything is detrimental. And I want to make sure that we get after it. You're kind of, we need you here to evaluate where we're at, what we need to get done, and also set us up for the future for success.
Great.
So.
Agreed.
So I'm prepared to make a motion that we accept Mosier's proposal as written. Can I get a second? Thank you, Emily. All those in favor? Any opposed, please voice your opposition. Motion passes. Okay, thank you, Summer.
You're very welcome. So I'll prepare an engagement letter that just kind of restates the scope and some terms, and I'll send that over to Matthew to sign. Sorry, Matt.
Fine.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll do
And
that
then
tomorrow.
I would encourage Mary Ellen and Lisa, if you reach out to your membership and just see, make sure, we don't have people that have concerns about their paychecks, or have them check their paychecks and make sure things are appropriate. And then also, go ahead, Emily. Okay. And then also, Matt, if you could reach out to the non-unionized folks and just see, make sure they look at their paychecks. I want to make sure that anybody who's due money gets the money that they're supposed to be paid. That's a terrible feeling to have, there could be some inaccuracies there. And it's important to me that we get that fixed.
Could I offer a suggestion when you get a minute, when you're ready?
Yes.
It's on somewhat different track, but definitely related. So a lot of the work that's needing to be done and the assumptions I've made in the proposal assume that you have Alyssa and have a business manager in place. I have my CPA license, so I'm protected in some ways with like personal and professional liability insurance. Alyssa doesn't have that, and she's kind of going to be sticking her neck out. I think and hope she's aware of that. So whatever you can do, I'm just offering a suggestion of whatever you could do to support her in that risk that she's taking on. I think would be in the school's best interests.
Are there ways that maybe you can look into and see what we can do to make sure we do that? Maybe come up with, just some suggestions. It doesn't have to be right now, but sure. Whatever those options are, so we make sure that she's comfortable in doing her job and not feeling that has liability that she, shouldn't bear. A lot of this stuff is from, a result of things that have happened prior to her being here. So
yeah, it may just be as simple as I'm not sure what she would need, but it could be as simple as a public statement from the board acknowledging that she's not going to be held liable for the stuff that happened before she was here, and getting that cleaned up.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
And Summer, on your behalf, I think it would still be good for us to just double check with insurance, because there can always be an E&O added for the business manager position, which is still a really good idea, just as a school as a whole.
I'm sorry.
An E&O, there is an admission.
And I'm covered under that. Alyssa would not be. My insurance wouldn't cover her for that.
No, but our insurance, we could
Oh.
put an endorsement for a professional and Arizona mission.
Yeah, that should always be in place. Good. I'm glad you have that.
Is that likely in place, Avilia, do you think?
It should, but it would still be good to just double check.
Yeah, because I would throw my name in there as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Good. That's all I have. Thank you so much. I'm excited for this project. I'm excited to work with Alyssa and Matt. I will talk to them about just diving in. I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Thank you,
Thank
Summer.
you, Summer.
Thank you so much.
We're
Thank
excited
you.
to have
Welcome.
you. We're excited to have you come in and get us on track and get us moving in the right direction. We feel really grateful to have you here. Thank you, and thank you, Alyssa and Matt, for the work you've been doing on this.
You're very welcome. All right, I am going to leave the meeting then. Leave you guys to it.
Be in
All right, have a
touch.
good evening.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
I just want to express my gratitude to Alyssa and to Matt, who have worked hard to find us an audit team and also an accountant to get us to get this all sorted out. And understanding that we've just had a number of different people doing systems in different ways, and then abrupt transitions where passwords were not shared in a timely way, or people had login and access issues. And I've seen it in my own career and job when there's a transition and a work handed from one person to another. It's very rare that there isn't something that slips through the cracks, and it's just really important to address and I feel good about Summer. Thank you for finding her. She seems really eager to get going and comfortable in this position and with this work, and it's just really important to have somebody like that looking at these things. And none of us are budget experts, and so I feel really good about hiring a professional to help us with this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Julia just said. Thanks to Alyssa, thanks to Matt, and also a big shout out and thanks to Avelia, who really held things down over the summer and worked with the ESD. And it's been a really long road, and I've seen her put in a ton of hours and go in and heroed a few situations. So I just want to thank her for that as well, because it's not knowing about any of this just makes me appreciate all of the work that accountants do. And so anyhow, I'm just grateful to everyone and excited for everything to get cleaned up. And it sounds like Alyssa will also get some good support along the way, and it just all sounds like a very positive move for the school, setting things up for success for the future. Even if there's a changing of the guards, hopefully the school will have a good solid system in place, good hopefully QuickBooks on a network where things can just get accessed and properly dealt with. So anyways.
I'd echo, and I just wanted to say I'd applaud all of your quick responsiveness to the urgency. You guys have lived the whole circumstances, and I think this is a critically important meeting, and I'm really happy to see your response to Summer and to Alyssa's work.
Thank you, Matt. Does anyone else have any comments or questions prior to us adjourning the meeting? All right. Thank you all for your hard work and your engagement, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Take care.
Good night.